And a very good evening and a warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for being a part of tonight's show. It is the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and it is episode 6 for our 7th season. In other words, our episode 156. Good evening, folks. My name is Tonchi Prusak, and I'm with you for the next 60 or so minutes. And when I say 60 or so minutes tonight, no doubt it will be at least 60 minutes because we have got a super jam-packed show tonight. And if you've been keeping abreast of our social media platforms earlier tonight, then you will certainly know that we have got, no less than 5 guests on tonight's show. So it's going to be absolutely phenomenal tonight. We've got Alan Muscat. He's the coach of the Bell Park Senior Men's team. We've also got Dale Harris, coach of the Bowen Soccer Club Senior Men's team. Those two teams were in action in the big State League 4 local derby on Saturday night. I ventured out to Grovedale Reserve and caught up with the two respective coaches. That's a little bit later on in the show during our news desk segment. Also, we'll be speaking to two gentlemen from Sports Group Australia. Rolando Navas, he's the director of the organisation, and Joel Martin, the operations coordinator. And Sports Group Australia was behind the recently concluded Western United Cup, the very successful Western United Cup here in Geelong. They're also behind, their organisation is behind the Junior Champions League, which is coming up very, very shortly. In fact, it starts this week in the Metropolitan Zone, but this year, for the first year, this juniors tournament has its sights set on regional Victoria. And Geelong will be firmly involved in this year's event. So we'll find out a little bit more about what the Junior Champions League is and how that affects or involves Geelong clubs. And last but not least, over the weekend, we had the start of the local community leagues, both the juniors and the seniors, and we'll be catching up with the coach of the senior women's team out at Lara United, Steve DeCunto, and he'll be joining us a little bit later on in the show. Folks, without further ado, it is time to jump into the news desk, and there's a lot happening without a doubt. And welcome to the news desk. As we said, quite a fair bit happening this week. Okay, the Victorian Premier League kicked off, round 11, and North Geelong Warriors hosted Pascoe Vale, and the score was 4-1 in favour of the Warriors, who've had a little bit of a hiccup over the last few weeks. And good news there is that they've finally managed to record some wins and do quite well, in fact, by the way. So that's some good news there. 4-1. Cassian Angle scoring 2 goals. Angus Chapman also scoring 2 goals. Boroondara Eagles hosted Geelong Soccer Club, and it was the Lions that came out on top, defeating Boroondara 2-1. Tommy Semi scoring in the first half and Ali Dule scoring in the second half. The women took to the stage on Sunday. Geelong Galaxy hosting the undefeated Keilor Park. They put up a good fight, the Galaxy, but Keilor Park made it 6 wins from 6 games with a 4-1 win. Emily Sutcliffe scoring the only goal of the game for Geelong Galaxy. We had the State League Women's also happening on the weekend. And we had, State League Men's happening on the weekend. Let's go through those results. Karai defeated Sydenham Park 3-3, or drew 3-3. Owen Shepherd, Cameron Lee and Tutu Taya scoring for Corio. In State League 2 action, Geelong Rangers unfortunately went down 3-1 to Lalor United. Kai Williams scoring there. State 3, Surf Coast made it 5 wins from 5 games. Another big thumping win, this time over Hoppers Crossing, 4-0. Pykett, Alexander, Mann and Viral scoring for the Coasters. In State 4, we saw the big Geelong derby, the local derby at Grovedale Reserve Saturday night. Bowen hosted Bell Park, and it was Bowen that went down to Bell Park 6-1. Cooper McCormick scoring Bowen's only goal in the first half. As for Bell Park, it was Lucas Rebagliati who scored 4 goals on debut for the All Whites, and Mio Marinovic scored 2 goals as well. Lara United scored 2 goals, but it wasn't enough against Point Cook at Saltwater Reserve. Iso Mayondo and Mute Blue scoring for Lara United, but unfortunately, Lara went down 3-2 to Point Cook. And Finn Duncan scored the only goal for Deakin Ducks, but the Ducks unfortunately conceded an 89th minute goal to Melbourne City to go down 1-2 to the Spotswood-based team. And last but not least, in State League 5 action, we saw Ocean Grove and Spring Hills play a 1-1 draw. Okay, we're going to take a very short break in this news desk. Here's a word from our major sponsor, and when we return, we've got some. We caught up with Alan Muscat and Dale Harris on Saturday night at Grovedale Reserve, home of the Bowen Soccer Club.
Your future is in your hands. There is a whole world waiting for you, and your choices determine how you will impact it. At the Gordon, we recognise this. That's why we champion hands-on learning. Get your hands dirty. Grab what's in front of you. Learn by doing. Turn your passion, your ideas, and mould them into your creations. You'll be supported the entire way. You'll grow your skills in small classes, guided by teachers who are industry experts. You'll learn in state-of-the-art facilities or out in a real-world workplace setting. Your hands-on experience will increase your understanding and put you ahead of your university peers. You'll graduate work-ready, and you'll graduate sooner, with a huge range of qualifications to choose from and support services to enable your success. Now is the time to continue your learning journey. At the Gordon, your future is in your hands.
We've got Alan Muscat here, the head coach of the Bell Park Senior Men's team. Alan, 6-1 win, I think it was. What a great result. How did you see the game?
Yeah, look, I thought we started off very, very good the first 20, 25 minutes. Got a bit complacent in the second part of the first half. But look, overall, I thought we controlled the game. Second half, when we came out, I thought Bowen, had a couple good chances to make it 3-3, yeah, and that's the difference of the football game. But after that, I think the boys woke up after that, and I think we took control of the game. And yeah, it scored some good goals. Could have been a bit more, but look, we'll take the 6-1 anytime.
Yeah, now, that's a good point you make about controlling the game, because it looked like for large parts of the game, you guys controlled the game. You could almost say that the team was sort of playing in second gear. Would you sort of agree with that, or do you think that they really, really dominated and they did what they have to do?
Yeah, look, we played Lara a couple of weeks ago, Tonch, and that game still hurts us. I mean, I thought we dominated that game and didn't take our opportunities, and that was the talking point during the week about how we didn't take our chances. And today, we were making sure we done the same thing today, and we took our chances today. And the boys, to their credit, they got out of the second, as you said, they got out of second and third gear, and they done well. But they done what they had to do in the day.
Now, up front, new boy, Luca, he did very well and combined with Mia Marinovic, it's a tall timber. He reminds me a little bit of Peter Crouch, the old Liverpool player, but he did what he had to do. He scored some great goals and he sort of added a bit more venom to the attack. He's we're expecting much from him this year.
Yeah, look, it's an area we were targeting. Obviously, unfortunately lost Aiden Limich to a knee reconstruction against Deacon.
Yep.
So yeah, we thought we needed some bolstering up top in an offensive area. Lucas was a player that we've been looking at over a few weeks, and obviously with visas and so forth, it's taken a while to get him over here. But he arrived into the country probably at a good time just before Easter. He's had a couple of weeks with the boys. Obviously, English is not his first language, but look, I think he's accustomed to the team well. The boys have, really welcomed to the squad. And look, coming into his first game, scoring 4 goals, I suppose the coach really can't complain, to be honest.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Great start to the season, unbeaten. Now, in recent years, Bell Park have really struggled in this competition. One of the hardest divisions to get out of. But what a great start. And obviously, with the restructuring happening at season's end, it's even more important to finish in that top 6. How far, like now after 5 rounds, how far can the boys go, in your opinion?
Yeah, look, Tonch. Obviously, it's we've had a very good start to the season, unbeaten, which is it's always a nice thing to have. Would have liked more points, obviously. The couple of draws we've had, but look, we've played some decent teams, but our second part of round 1 is going to be tough against some really good squads. But look, end of the day, we've set our standards here, and obviously as a football club, we want to try to win as many football games as we can, and try to finish as high as we can. And obviously the first common goal is to try to finish in the top 6, so you stay in the division as a starting point. But for us, obviously there's a lot of belief within the squad. But like I said, we have to play these better teams, so-called better teams from Melbourne, and hopefully, like I said, we'll just keep on doing what we have to do every week.
Now, last year you were coaching at Geelong Rangers, 2 divisions up in State 2, but State 4 North West is often regarded as the hardest division to get out of because it's only one team that's automatically promoted. How, from a personal point of view, how would you describe State 4 standard football compared to State 2, what you were accustomed to last year?
Yeah, interesting question, Tonch. Obviously, I was coaching Altona North as well back a few years ago, and we were in State 4 as well. Look, I think from back in those days to now, I think the leagues are getting a bit stronger. I think a lot of leagues this year, we've noticed that the top 6 and the bottom 6 is a bit of a parity, not parity, but a bit difference.
Yep.
Even this league is, I think the top 6 teams in this league, you probably can see already the league's sort of starting to find some shape as well. And again, I think State 2 to State 4 is a massive difference in terms of, you look at, obviously it's the first league that's got open visas. So most of clubs, you look at, clubs have got nearly a whole team of visas, reality. And the financial situation as well with clubs and the backings as well, it makes it not a very fair playing field. But look, for us, I feel that we've got the reason why I took this role, and I feel that the club is going in the right direction. We've got a good bunch of lads, and we just included a few good people in the off season as well. And look, we've got a good culture at the moment here. And again, we'll just keep on doing the way we're going, I suppose. So.
And so you talk about the club, you talk about the good club culture. Off the field, a lot has been happening under the leadership of Rose Puratina as well. A lot has been happening there. New change rooms, fantastic facilities, arguably the best facilities in Geelong, especially the grandstand. You must be enjoying it up there at Batesford.
Yeah, I am. Look, Tonch, like I said, when the opportunity came down to speak to Rose and her board, and I haven't been down to this facility for a long time, and that was one of the things that impressed me. They've done everything right at the football park. They've got the facilities right. The infrastructure's all there now. And now they've taken the next leap now and try and get things right on the football park. And they've done things the right way. They've got everything right in the background now. It's just try and get things right on the football park. And look, we've set our goals and where we want to be and what we want to do as a football club. Everything, as you know, as a mutual, it's not always going to happen the way you want it to go. But look, as we've said, we've had a good start to the season, and we just keep on doing what we're doing. We've had a few players come back from injuries as well, and obviously including Luca as well, which is good. And hopefully, guys get better and better as we go. So, yeah.
Well, fantastic, mate. An unbeaten start to the season. Can't hope for anything more as a coach. Wish you all the very best for the rest of the year, Alan. Okay, we've got the coach of Barnes Soccer Club, Dale Harris. We've Dale Muscat here, the head coach of the Bell Park Senior. We've got Alan Muscat here, the head coach of the Bell Park Senior Men's Team.
Okay,
Alan,
we've got the
6-1
coach
win, I
of
think
Barnes
it was.
Soccer
What a great
Club,
result. Dale Harris. Dale, look, not sort of. It's another tough day at the office. How did you see today's game?
Not good enough performance that shows why we sit in bottom of the ladder. It's been a disaster since Addy Cup. Lost quite a few players. 2 imports got picked up by Rangers. The squad today was basically we're trying to rebuild, but it's so difficult keeping the players that we're trying to rebuild with. There's only been 2 starters from last year's squad. The rest have all played reserve team last year, so it's difficult. It's a big jump playing up against quality side like Bell Park and everyone else, but we just lacking a lot of desire at the moment, which is difficult to motivate. So.
Now, as a coach, you've been here for quite a long time and you've seen the highs and the lows and you've seen the team do really, really well. State 5, you brought them into State 4. And so much was promised, like I suppose, at the last year, and you know, you had a lot of players leave, and this year was that rebuilding thing, and it just seems to be really, really difficult with the young players. How do you find, you as a coach? How frustrating is it? How do you deal with the frustrations of coaching?
It's difficult to deal with it. How can I explain? So it's just.
Without swearing.
That's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
about. How can I explain without that? It's just been, it's been extremely tough to deal with this. Obviously, it affects everything around the club. The positivity, the energy, the vibe, all that disappears. And I guess every week in, week out, my job is to try and motivate the boys again and again and again until they finally click, and then hopefully Lady Luck shines on us for a bit. So it's been miserable, honestly.
On a positive side, there were moments out there against Bell Park where the team did really, really well when they scored that goal in the first half to bring it back to 3-1. Even parts of the second half at some stages. How do you work on in the training sessions now? How do you go back to training and how do you try and work on those positives and try and put those negatives aside with such a young squad, with such young players?
Like I said, every week we go again and we focus purely on the positives, and we try not the negatives. We always start the discussion with forget last week. It started fresh. Some of the kids, it's a big jump for them, but I think they'll be good for a couple of years or so in the future. But at the moment, it is a big jump for them, and they're doing the best they can. And I just try and focus on being positive with the young kids, especially the young kids, because coming into senior football, they get a lot of criticism on the field from the teammates if they're not doing the right things. And we in this type of game that you learn from your mistakes, and they're going to make mistakes. We just got to get around them and keep them believing. And self-belief is the most important thing as a footballer. And at the moment, we are lacking a lot of self-belief. So that is my main job now, bring back that self-belief.
And with young players, we often hear pundits on the sideline say, give the young guys a go. You need to give the young guys a go, whether it's at the A-League level, NPL level, or State League level. At Barnes Soccer Club, you're giving a lot of the young players a go. And of course, there's going to be that inconsistencies. But the young guys themselves, do they get very, very disheartened? Do they get discouraged? Or you've got players, people like yourself and Robbo, their assistant coach, who are able to kind of really get them to see that this is an opportunity, and short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah, 100%. We always, like I said, we always just we encourage him. That's all we can do. They do get disheartened. You can see it in their face. You can see it in their body language after the game. And I think a lot of them take it to heart when they should realize that this is basically an apprenticeship for them.
Yeah.
So always give the young boys a hug afterwards. Just make them feel better about themselves. And once again, just trying to instill that self-belief, because I always let them know that you're in the squad because I believe you have the ability. Listen and learn. And that's all we can promise him at the moment.
Now, on another note, the club's always one of the biggest clubs in Geelong player-wise. Off the field, how are things going at Barwon Soccer Club? Obviously there's a capacity issue here. There's not much we can grow outside of Grovedale Reserve, but there's been a lot of talk about multi-sports facilities in Armstrong Creek and maybe even more fields around this area. How's that going now? I guess this is kind of more of a off the field issue, but how is it all going from the club's perspective? Like, obviously lots of juniors, women's doing quite well, and obviously the Sunday League sides as well. So I mean, the club's growing and it continues to grow, but it's kind of, there's a limit if we don't get any more grounds.
100%. We are at max at the moment. We've had to turn away some players or from Sunday League and juniors and stuff like that, because if you look at that our schedule over there on the window, it's ridiculous. It is. It's great that we got so many, but we would like a bit of aid in being able to cater for all the players that we have. And off the field, the club is there's a Mark Horner's come on board as just running the show behind the scenes, getting all the support, organizing all the canteen stuff and that. And he's been doing a fantastic job, just trying to get the culture back at the club, because the culture has disappeared over the last few years, where it's almost like we're not that joint family anymore. It's difficult to get the crowd here. So we are trying to work on that. And once again, it's just, we can get the right results. Hopefully the crowd will come in. Hopefully the positive energy will come back. And we are in a struggle at the moment and building phases, one block at a time, and we'll see what we can build.
Well, we don't like to see any Geelong club suffer, struggle, and we certainly wish Barwon, the sooner it gets back up to where it belongs, the better. So, Dale, on that note, thank you very much for joining us here. And
the world is yours. So work hard, and you can have whatever it is you want.
Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Let's continue with the news. And also on the weekend, we had the start of the Women's State League season. Only one Geelong club this year in the Women's State League. That's North Geelong, and they're competing in State League 1 as they did last year. Unfortunately, at the last, on the eve of the new season, Geelong Rangers pulled out of the State League competitions. North Geelong started not in the way that they would have liked to. On Saturday night, they went down to Clifton Hill 0-2, and it was part of an historic doubleheader at Alco Park. The senior men's kicked off at 5 p.m, and then the Warriors women kicked off at 7 p.m, and from all accounts, a very, very good crowd was in attendance for the historical doubleheader at Alco Park. The Warriors will be in action in round 2 this Sunday when they travel to City Vista Reserve in Caroline Springs to take on the highly fancied Caroline Springs George Cross. Currently, they're in second position after the first round. The Warriors are in 8th position. That game kicking off at 3:15 p.m. All right, turning our attention to the VPL fixtures this weekend coming up. Springvale White Eagles, currently in 4th position on the VPL 2 ladder, host the 5th place North Geelong Warriors. That game on Saturday at the Serbian Sports Centre in Keysborough. 3 p.m. is the kickoff there. Geelong, one of the few teams playing at home this weekend, Geelong Soccer Club. So on Saturday night at 6 p.m, head down to Stead Park, or Winslow Park it is called these days, and they'll be hosting 6th placed Altona City. A win for the 11th placed Lions will see them jump over Altona City. So it's very important that the Geelong Soccer Club can achieve a win, and that would be their second consecutive win on the trot. so to speak. In VPLW action this Sunday, round 7 sees the 4th place Melbourne University host our Geelong Galaxy, who are in 9th position at Princess Park Oval, and that game will kick off at 3 p.m. On to the men's state leagues, and it's round 6 time this weekend. Can't believe already we've gone 6 rounds, or we will have gone 6 rounds after this weekend's action. In State League 1, Corio travels to 6th placed Banyule City. That game at Banyule Flats Reserve. And then we've got State League 2 action. Geelong Rangers hosting bottom side FC Strathmore. So the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers at Myers Reserve. Kick off there at 3 p.m. As I said, not many Geelong clubs this week at home. We've got Geelong Soccer Club, we've got Geelong Rangers, and we'll also see Bell Park will be at home as well. In State League 3 action, can Surf Coast make it 6 wins from 6 games? They take on 3rd place Brunswick Zebras, and a bit of there's a point to prove, a bit of revenge for Surf Coast. 2 years ago, the Coasters lost to the Brunswick Zebras in the State 4 playoff at Epping Stadium, so they'll be keen to exact a bit of revenge on the Zebras at Sumner Park this Saturday afternoon. State League 4 action sees Lara United travel to 10th place Keilor Wolves. That's at Green Gully Reserve on Saturday afternoon. Bell Park hosts 4th placed Westside Strikers. Can the All Whites maintain their unbeaten start to the season? That game at Bell Park Sports Club at 3 p.m. Point Cook hosting Deakin Ducks at Saltwater Reserve, and West Point hosting Barnes Soccer Club at Webster Street Reserve. And finally, in State League 5 action, Maidstone United taking on Ocean Grove. That game kicking off at 3 p.m. And earlier today, we saw the Nike FC Cup draw for round 5 conducted by Football Victoria, and Geelong Galaxy will be taking on Bayside Argonauts. That game will be played at Shipston Reserve in Cheltenham, and the dates will be confirmed, but the available dates are between May 27 and 29, so they are midweek games, May 27 being a Tuesday, May 29 being a Thursday, and of course there's the Wednesday wedged in between. And then also June 3 to 8, any time between those dates as well. So obviously they are going to be determined at a later date. And finally, to finish off the news desk, well, how could we not make reference to the EPL? If you are a Liverpool fan, and I'm sure there are many scattered around the region, congratulations to your team. They have been crowned the Premier League champions for 2024-2025. And I'm sure, by judging by a lot of the social media posts, there's a lot of "you'll never walk alone" posts and messages and whatnot. Congratulations to Liverpool. And if you're a Liverpool fan, same thing, congratulations to you. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, it will be a time for our first of the interviews. Folks, don't go away. Just Turfing Instant Turf is a local, family-owned and operated company which guarantees top quality products and service. Whether you need turf for a small front garden or a large landscaping project, Just Turfing Instant Turf are the turf installer experts you can trust. They supply and install for most major landscapers in Melbourne and Geelong, with a wide range of premium instant turf and a full suite of turf care products. Chloe and the team at Just Turfing are sure to have all your turf needs covered. Their Melbourne, Geelong and Victorian regional distribution means they can supply your area with fresh cut turf installed the same day, hassle-free. Turf options that are available include Eureka Kikuyu, Santa Ana, Tiff Tuff, Sir Walter Buffalo and Sir Grange. For more information, contact either Chloe on 0431 571 558 or Josh on 0457 174 111. And that is a promo for the new season of the Junior Champions League. And for the first time, the Junior Champions League is best of the best, and it's a midweek competition for juniors. And it also involves teams from all parts of Melbourne. And for the first time this year, there's going to be a regional zone element, which includes both Geelong teams and Geelong as a venue as well. To tell us a little bit more about what this involves, the director from Sports Sports Melbourne, Rolando Navis. How are you, Rolando? How's
Yeah,
things?
good. Good, thank you. Yeah, Sports Group Melbourne. Yeah, absolutely. No, been
Sports
really
Group
well.
Melbourne.
Thanks, Hunter. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Now we've also got the operations coordinator as well from Sports Group Melbourne, Joel Martin. Joel, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yourself?
Very good, mate. Very good. Gents, thank you for joining us on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. And look, for those that are not familiar with Sports Group Melbourne, Rolando, tell us a little bit about the Western United Cup, because that was held very, very recently, wasn't it? And your business was behind it.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, Sports Group Melbourne has been around since 2022. Um, Prior to that, obviously, I'm involved with also the Australian Football School, who runs some of the major tournaments like the Shepparton Cup, and we also help teams or clubs like Western United to run the very recent Western United Cup. So we've joined forces with AFS and SGM to produce, some really good junior tournaments. Western United was an exceptional one. First time in the region for a long time, and it was just absolutely brilliant. Now the backing we got from the clubs and the region was unbelievable. So yeah, it was great. It was great to be out in Geelong.
Yeah, now what a perfect time that was. Pre-season, obviously on the weekend we had the community leagues kick off. So this was just the ideal pre-season preparation for all of those teams involved. But look, obviously the presence of Western United and some of their A-League stars as well really added to the occasion, as was the beautiful weather that we had that particular weekend. But Rolando, like, did it exceed the expectations, the sheer volume of players and teams at this inaugural Western United Cup? And did it sort of tell you that there's an appetite for this type of these type of tournaments in the Geelong area?
Most definitely. Look, we were very pleased with how it all went. For the first year, to get 74 teams involved was exceptional. We obviously helped Western United run the Ballarat edition, which started 3 years ago now, and that's only for girls. But to have the boys and the girls for the Geelong one was great. And definitely an appetite. We've seen it with the Shepparton Cup. That started off with 45 teams. 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. And that's just gone from strength to strength with, 300 plus teams. So there's no reason why this one can't grow, to that extent, if not bigger.
Yeah. Now, Joel, obviously you're involved in that, and look, you guys have really got this whole tournament logistics. I think what best way to describe it, down pat. And now it's the time to turn to the Junior Champions League, and as we mentioned, for the first time, there's a regional component as well, regional zone. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a really exciting opportunity for us as the Junior Champions League with Sports Group Melbourne, that we can expand more than just the Metro region. The Metro region this year, we've got over 250 teams, so that's going really strong and bigger than ever. But now's a good opportunity to welcome some of those regional teams, as you can see on the screen now. Teams from Ballarat, Shepparton, Bendigo, Geelong, teams that wouldn't normally get the opportunity to play each other, will get the chance to go up against each other and fight out to have a place in the grand finals in Caroline Springs in August. So it's a really exciting opportunity for us as a business, but then also giving these opportunities to the players from the regional areas, that they might not always get this opportunity to play high-level teams from different parts of the state.
Yeah.
I might add to that too. I might add to that too, Tunchy. We've got all Salisbury Wodonga who are very keen to participate as well. So teams that normally wouldn't play against each other or against Metro teams get the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Now, Rolando, let's talk about the logistics of it. I guess the when the actual games will be played. It says Saturday, two per match day. So, logistically speaking, how is it envisaged to be staged? Is it going to be during the day, at night, in the mornings?
Yeah.
And is it kind of a round robin, and then the top team progresses through to the zone finals? How does it all work?
Yeah, look, pretty much. So what we've I guess seen and the feedback that we're getting is with the metro region, it's definitely to complement, their current winter season games.
Yep.
So instead of a training session, for example, in the metro works really well because the kids get extra games. And instead of a training session, they get to play once a month against quality teams in a great environment. And obviously for the regions, it's a little bit harder to do it midweek. So for them, we're doing it during the weekends. Again, not to clash with any of their existing commitments, with the local leagues. We wanted to complement. So the feedback we're getting is Saturday twilight or evening games, late afternoon games are quite good. In some regions, we managed to change a little bit, but the idea will be that once a month, the regions will come together in a particular region. All the teams will come there, and to make the travel worthwhile, they'll be playing two full games, so 25-minute halves that they normally would play to make it worthwhile for them. That'll happen once a month. Again, we'll take it to each region so the regions can benefit from, the tourism, the clubs running the canteens and all that revenue that brings. And then at the end, we'll have some, so they'll play within the regions, and at the end, we'll have an overall state champion where the regional teams will get a chance to play against the metro teams. So bringing it all together and having, again, teams that normally wouldn't come up against each other in a great environment.
Now, is it aimed mainly to be kind of the best of the best, sort of an elite competition, hence the Champions League moniker, or is it just basically anyone who wants to kind of participate?
Because it's a very inclusive league, so we just want kids who believe are up to it have the chance to play against similar level kids. So everyone's invited to participate. We don't really have any restrictions on that. So whether it's clubs, academies, schools, anyone can participate. And the way we've done it, similar to replicate the UEFA model, the UEFA Champions League model, is you get put into a big group. You get to play 3 group games, randomly selected, and then you qualify into your particular round of finals from there. So we have 4 tiers that you get put into, depending
Yep.
on how you progress through the group stages, and then you get put into different finals. So there are 4 different finals series stages, if you like, where teams will be pitted against teams of similar level, making it competitive and still, making a worthwhile finals event for all those teams.
That sounds really, really interesting. Joel, tell us a bit about how teams or clubs can get involved, and do we have any kind of updated figures as to how many teams there are in the regional zone at least?
Yep. So in the regional zone, we are for all our age groups from under 8s to under 16s. We're looking for 8 teams. 8 teams. It doesn't matter where they're from in the regional area. 8 teams that are willing to take part and test themselves up against the best, as Rolando touched on. So whether that be, I think Murray United is one of the teams they're interested, for example. So we're looking at getting as many regional teams on board. Hopefully that 8. And if they're interested in getting on board, our registrations are open and available online on the JCL website, so juniorchampionsleague.com.au. But you can also reach out to us directly if you have any questions prior to registering. And yeah, it would be great to get as many teams involved as possible.
There it is. All the details are there on the screen. Register your team at juniorchampionsleague.com.au. That's juniorchampionsleague.com.au. And as the gents have said, ideally there's 8 teams per age group, going from under 8s all the way up to under 16s, the boys and girls as well. Now, I believe it's is it a 9v9 format, and then it gets to the under 14s and the under 16s become 7v7 or something like that?
Yep. So in the under 8s and under 9s, similar to your club season rules, it'd be 7v7, so the quarter pitches. Then from under 10s all the way up to under 13s, it'd be 9v9, so a half pitch. And then the new format that we're introducing for the under 14s to the under 16s is 7-a-side, but on that half pitch. So a bit of but that 7v7 with that half pitch space to play on.
So they've got a little bit more space to roam on the pitch.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
right.
Rolando, as we said, there's a real appetite for it here in the Geelong region. And have you spoken to any of the clubs so far in the Geelong area who have shown an interest? Because obviously this now requires teams to be pretty committed, because they do have to go to Ballarat, they do have to go to Shepparton and to Bendigo, knowing full well the next day they've got their normal Football Victoria League game. So, have any of the clubs have you spoken to, have they shown an interest and a level of commitment that they are interested in this?
Yeah, most definitely. Look, it is a big interest. Obviously, there's no surprise to the growth and how much it's the popularity of football has grown in the region, and some excellent teams as well. So there's definitely teams that are interested. We're gathering all the registrations now. Obviously, we've got about a month before we kick off the first one, so we've got a little bit of time, but not too much up our sleeves. So yeah, look, we're looking for realistically 2 teams per age group for each of the regions. So, we want to involve those teams. If we do get more, we can assess it then. But that's what we want to start it off with. Get teams in the regions. Like I said, we've had some verbal chats with clubs. We're just waiting for them to confirm.
Yep.
But the level of interest is definitely there. We do see the Geelong teams compete in quite a lot of the competitions that we run already. And we've got a team from Ballarat, funnily enough, that's coming all the way to compete in the Metro Western region as well. So they're going to make the trek once a month from Ballarat to compete, in the likes of Caroline Springs, Williams Landing. So they're pretty committed. They're going to straight out of school, drive down to Melbourne, play their game and go back, you know what I mean? So they definitely are, they're looking for opportunities. That's the feedback we're getting from the regions, that they are really, starved for opportunities like this for their kids to, play against other teams that they normally don't.
Now, Joel, being the operations coordinator, with regards to the teams themselves, so do they have to be strictly players registered with that team with Football Victoria? Can they have guest players from other teams that maybe the teams aren't interested, but the kids are interested, for example, and that they could play as guest players for this tournament? How does that work?
Essentially for us, we don't say no to any of the players as long as they're age eligible and able to play in that competition. You can't. So the one rule that we do have is players can't play for multiple teams in the same competition.
Yep.
But if there's players that a club might be looking at to trial for them for the next season, and they're interested in potentially playing in the Junior Champions League for that team, there's no reason why they can't do that and give the opportunities to these local kids to play against some football that they've, first of all, extra football more than they're currently playing, which the appetite is there, as Rolando did say, but also giving them the opportunity to play for a club that they might be interested in playing in the future.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, a very good point. And I guess Rolando will ask you, play insurance, how does that work? As soon as the players or teams pay for their team entry and player registration, then they automatically have the insurance cover from your organisation. Is that right?
Yeah, so look, we've got all the insurances in place for players to be covered under that. Like all the competitions we run, that's something that we take quite seriously, to ensure that all the players are playing in an environment that's suitable for the competitions we put in place.
Yeah. So once again, we've got the slide there of all the details. So the intended starting date is May the 17th with the first group stage game to be held in Ballarat, and that'll be followed by Shepparton in June, Bendigo in July, and then Geelong in August with the zone finals. And then that will be followed in late August at Caroline Springs for the grand final, bringing the best of the teams from around the state together. So at least 2 games per match day. And as we can see, over 250 teams have already registered to play in the JCL. And all your information and registration details can be found at juniorchampionsleague.com.au. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Rolando, any last messages or bits of information that we may have omitted?
Now, look, obviously the metro region kicks off next week down at Caroline Springs this for the first kickoff. That's really, really exciting. That's the Western region. So keep an eye on the socials. We live stream some of the games as well. So again, you can follow us on the socials on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. And yeah, just looking forward to seeing some great games. The games are really high impact. They're really good intensity. The kids really take it serious, and they absolutely love it. Playing under lights midweek, there's nothing like it really. And yeah, it's just really great to see some of the great talent that's on show. And yeah, can't wait to see it. So hopefully we can see you there. And yeah, again, call out to the regions. It'd be great to get you involved. A little bit of commitment, of course, but I think that's what the kids that really want to excel and progress need at this stage.
Joel, have we omitted anything that we need to talk about? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it all there. We're really excited to get this regional division up and running and open up those opportunities to all these clubs across the state. So we're really excited for that.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. And Rolando, in reference to you saying the excitement under lights, and it's true, a lot of the time the kids train during the week under lights, but they don't get that opportunity to play under lights. And there's nothing more electric and nothing more. The atmosphere just becomes so much more. There's so much more of a buzz when they're playing under lights. So here's an opportunity for if your team's quite serious, if your club's quite serious about taking that next level, particularly that under 12, under 13 age group kids that are preparing for NPL or Metro football, for example, this is the ideal opportunity for them to do so. And look, for the parents, it might be a great opportunity to make it a weekend away, particularly if they're not playing the following day, if they've got a bye or something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're really looking forward to it. And yeah, just thanks for the opportunity to be able to come on the show. Really appreciate it, and love what you do. So keep it up, and
thank you. Thanks, gents. That's Rolando Navas and Joel Martin from Sports Group Melbourne. Folks, we're going to be back after this very, very short break with the rest of tonight's show. You are watching the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Don't go away, folks. Fantastic service, food and coffee, well-stocked produce and groceries at very reasonable prices. 5 stars for the coffee served, beautifully made latte, everything you need in this wonderful little shop. Staff are always friendly and helpful, an absolute treasure to the community. These are just some of the glowing comments of praise by both regular and first-time customers of the iconic Birregurra General Store. The De Cunto family, well known in Geelong football circles, has run the iconic Country General Store since 2020, and apart from providing top quality service, they, along with their extremely pleasant and friendly staff, make sure that everything you could possibly need is well stocked and always available. Located at 59 to 61 Main Street in Birregurra and open all 7 days a week, the Birregurra General Store is open from 6 a.m. each weekday and 7 a.m. on weekends. If in Birregurra, pop in and say hello to Steve and Angus. Well, on the weekend, it was the start of the local community league season. And we had kids running around everywhere, the mini-roos, the juniors, the senior men's, and also the senior women's. And I guess with the senior women's, there's a bit of an issue. Unfortunately, this year it seems to be that the senior women's competition is bucking the trend, whereas everywhere else it seems to be growing. The numbers seem to be growing dramatically. We've actually noticed a bit of a decrease with the senior women's locally. And in addition to that, we found out just last week, Geelong Rangers won't be having a team in the State League women's competition. And because of the fact it was so late, they were unable to enter a team in the local competition or have a team in the local competition. So what is happening with the women's competition? Well, on the weekend, one of the teams that did very well was Lara United, who had a big win over Geelong, 12-0 in fact. And we'll talk about that because that was all part of the grading process. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the show the head coach of the Lara United women's team, Steve De Cunto. Steve, good evening and welcome to the Geelong Region Soccer Show.
Good evening, Tonchi. How are you?
Very good pleasure. First of all, thank you to you and your son Angus, who are behind Birregurra General Store. So if anyone is down the Birregurra way, do pop in and say hi to the DeQuantos. So thank you for your support there.
Not a problem at all, mate. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, mate, we're talking about the start of the season. It's always exciting, and let's talk about the positives first of all. Good win on the weekend for your team, 12-0 win over Geelong. It's part of the grading process. Firstly, how were you with your team's performance? How were you, happy or otherwise?
Oh, look, obviously we're pretty happy with our performance. To start off the season with a 12-0 win is always nice, but it's sort of an interesting situation, the whole grading period. So we're sort of trying to put our heads around it. Not exactly. I know we're on the good end of it at the moment because we started well, but on the other side of it, 12-0 win isn't exactly a great way for any sport, I don't think. That's my personal.
Now that's an interesting point. You bring it up, and let's jump straight to the grading. I went out on the weekend, was out at Grovedale Reserve to catch the State League 4 men's game between Bowen and Bell Park, and I was speaking to a few people there who'd been to the Bell Park and the Colac Otway game where Bell Park ended up winning defeating Colac 17-0.
Yep.
And it's a new team. You know a lot about the Colac team, for example. They're a new team. We know they deserve to be or belong in Division 2. We know that Bell Park are a powerhouse. They belong in Division 1. And 17-0. But to some people might say, oh, but they should have taken the foot off the pedal and, Geelong should have taken the foot off the pedal. But there's an issue here. These girls can't afford to take the foot off the pedal for grading reasons. And we were talking about this off air. Tell us, in your situation, what happened in the game against Geelong.
Yeah, look, we sort of, obviously, we started well and I think it was 4-0 at half time, but we sort of knew really early up that we had full control of the game. So as a coach, I sort of used my bench a lot. I had 6 players on the bench, so we did rotate a lot of players that probably wouldn't get much bench time throughout a normal season game. Got like a lot of bench time. Some of my best players probably only played 50 minutes. Not because, no disrespect to our opposition, it was just I don't like to be beating a team by a lot in a not only grading game but normal game as well. I've been around the traps of senior women's and the women's side since 2009, so I sort of don't want it to. I've been on the other end of some losses too.
Yep.
It's degrading. It's a bit tough. But this situation here was. We've been put in a group, for example, where there's 5 teams and we're only going to be playing 2 out of the 3 games because we've got a bye.
Yep.
And it puts us in a position where if we don't get a good goal difference, we possibly might miss out on Division 1. Whereas in our group, we've got ourselves Ocean Grove and Deakin, who are 3 of our 5 were in Division 1 last year. And if it goes to the way we think it will, it might only be 2 teams per grading group.
Yep.
That means one of us Division 1 teams might miss out and go to Div 2, which isn't exactly ideal. So knowing we're only playing the 2 games, we've decided, like, we sort of had to have the conversation at half time. It's like, wait, we really can't take our foot off the accelerator here. We need to have a bit of a goal difference in case we do lose the next game against Deakin in round 3. So it's an interesting sort of situation. Like, there were teams last year that didn't want to, even in men's, that wanted to go up to Division 2, for example, and get left in Div 3. And I'm pretty sure Drysdale had, in the women's last year, had 2 teams. So they had seniors and reserves that got stuck both in Division 2, which is tough. Like, if we've got 2 teams, for example, you should be able to request, I want to be in Division 1. And it's an interesting, as I said, the grading situation. And Bell Park would have been in the same position. You need to have the goal difference just in case you drop a game. I'm pretty sure they would have had a bit of fun kicking a few goals, but you get a bit nervous. I know we were originally in the first fixture drop.
Yep.
We were rostered to play Colac, and I was really nervous about it. I know a couple of Colac girls playing in that team, and because we're at Birregurra, where I'm from.
Obviously, yep.
We're close. So I wasn't keen on playing them. Then the fixture changed, and we're sort of happy, because the last thing you really want at all is to see teams lose players because of during grading they've gone up and played a higher division team and had a really tough result.
Now we've had two teams less this year, or we've got two teams less this year. So we've worked it out. Drysdale's B team, Lara's B team, are not in the competition. In addition to that, we've got a Colac Otway Rovers team has entered the fray, which is definitely a B division team. We know that. And well done to everyone at Colac, by the way, getting up a team for the first time in history. And I think they've got 3 men's teams.
Yeah, the club's growing dramatically. It's great.
Unbelievable. And speaking to Eddie Doris and some of the guys involved at Colac, over the last few months, they've done such a brilliant job. And in the off-season, they've even had a futsal league, a Colac futsal league that they've ran. And that seems to have generated a lot of the male players as well. So, I mean, obviously, if in women's football, and you said you've been involved since 29, if they have a bad experience, and being on the wrong end of a 17 scoreline or a 12-0 scoreline, of course, is going to be a bad experience. It's likely these ladies will give the game away, and that's what it seems to be happening. And look, the grading it had to happen last year. We needed to have some sort of a yardstick created both in the men's comp and in the women's comp. But speaking to a couple of people on Saturday night, they said, well, this year we should have just stuck to, everyone's got that structure, get promoted, get relegated. We know where we're at. Teams change, they're always going to change, but the actual club or the actual club's team is in a certain division, and that's how it should have been done. What's your thoughts on all that?
Oh, look, I think the relegation promotion has to happen. That's my take on it. I don't like the grading system at all. I was happy to do it last year, but I think that it's really hard because we're not playing. I think there's one of the groups in particular of the women's that I think it's got a lower end Division 1 team that should have been in Div 2 last year, and there's a lot of Division 2 teams. So there's going to be some promotion of teams that shouldn't probably be up there.
Well, I've got the results here. I've got, at the time of us recording this interview, in Group A, Lara defeated Geelong 12-0. Do you know how Surf Coast 2s went against Deakin?
No, I haven't heard at all.
Yep. And then Ocean Grove had the bye. Now, in Group B, Golden Plains defeated FC Leopold 2-1. Nice close game.
Yep.
Drysdale defeated Barwon Blue, so that's Barwon's second team, I think, 7-1.
Yep.
In Group C, which is a 5-team league, Corio Bay defeated Deakin Ducks Yellow 5-1. Bell Park defeated Colac Otway Rovers 17-0, and Ballerine Sharks had the bye.
Yep.
And in Group D, then you've got Surf Coast Ones defeated, and Barwon White, which I assume is their A team, 1-1. Yep. And then Barwon Heads and Armstrong United Orange, or there's only one Armstrong United team. We don't know the score there. And that's another thing. I'm pretty sure Armstrong United really pushed to have a second team as well.
Yeah, they'd originally put 2 in as well as Lara and Drysdale. So Drysdale won Div 2 last year, so they probably would be up in Div 1 again this year, I dare say. But they wanted to be in Div 1 last year, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. If you have this year, they've only got the one team, so it might be a bit different. But having 2 teams in the one division just makes life really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So in total, basically, as we stand, there are 18 teams last year. We may have more teams join up in the next week or 2 weeks. It's quite possible. It is the grading phase, and look, it is a contentious issue. It's one of those things, and I think everyone agrees last year we needed it. We needed to create some form of standard, some form of a yardstick, but unfortunately it hasn't been the case. Now, Steve, during the week or last week, we found out Geelong Rangers weren't going to have a senior team in the State League competition. Now, it's a second year after Lara United pulled a team out of the State League competition last year. I know Surf Coast want to enter a team, but it's not the right time. And look, there's just talk about Rangers possibly in a few years' time as well. on the back of what we saw about just before Easter, the Nike FC Cup game between North Geelong and Geelong Galaxy, which I had the pleasure of commentating, and a few people went to that game and said it was fantastic. Is there a big gulf between sort of elite senior women's football in Geelong and the rest of the competition? Is it? And what's the issue? Why can't we develop more quality players and teams, I suppose, that are able to go either to the Melbourne competition or even in Geelong? We've seen powerhouses over the years kind of not able to take it to the next level. But we're doing well at junior level. What's the issue?
I think the Geelong, the Division 1 league's got some really, really competitive teams. 5 or 6 teams that could probably go up to state and really give it a good nudge.
Yep.
But it's more the commitment, the weekend, losing a whole day Sunday to travel up to Melbourne. I think that's an issue. Like I know in our, speaking for our team, an example, we're hoping to go back into state next year. But the problem is, obviously, I've got a couple of players that have already said we can't commit to a Sunday. I've got kids.
Yes.
I've got to be at their soccer on the Sunday, so there's issues that we'd have to then start recruiting to make up a team. We can't have, say, this year's Division 1 team be next year's state team and work on having a local team. And I think that would be multiple clubs. It wouldn't be just us, I'm sure. Otherwise, I'd say the likes of Barwon would have a really strong senior team, women's team, and their juniors are great, same as ours. We've got good juniors coming through. Deakin would be the same. Their women's team has been a great team for years.
Yep.
So there's obviously a reason as to why they're not going up to state, because they've got no problem to push their men's up to state.
Yep.
And both those teams this year have 2 teams, both Barwon and Deakin, so they probably could do it. But obviously every club's got their issues. And we'd be the same. We know that to go to state, we're going to lose players out of the current team that just won't commit to a Sunday. And it's not like turning up and playing and there's a 3-hour block. If you're traveling, it's probably a 5 or 6 hour block that they probably can't free themselves up for.
And you're probably looking at a lot of women, soccer mums as well. They've probably got kids, boys or girls, playing juniors on a Sunday, and they're unable to commit to that. Possibly, Sundays a day they want to spend with the family. And I know,
as a parent, we generally do sort of sacrifice for our kids anyway. So that's just the way it is. It makes it really tough, I think, to sort of make that. And not even that. Transition would be, if anyone goes state, they're going to push a minimum 2 nights a week training, where some clubs might be happy with at the moment having one compulsory training session or.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good point you make. And I guess that's another reason why we need to try and make our local comp even better than it is. And as you said, there's some really, really good teams there. And some of the standard you get to watch and play, especially come final series. Like there's many of the game in the final series have been really high standard, and it's absolutely fantastic. So if we can get this whole structure right, I think that's something that I think we're going to get in the right direction. Now, I guess this is what we're talking. This is an opportunity to discuss it. Some people are going to agree, some people are going to disagree, but obviously there seems to be a problem because, like I said, most people I've spoken to have said there's an issue with the gradings this year in 2025. Last year, I think there was a little bit of grumblings, but in the end, by and large, I think a lot of people agreed it was a pretty good kind of system by day's end. But this year, we're moving forward and we're trying to address the fact that we are losing players.
And it's one less week too. I think last year was a 4 or 5. It was longer than a 3-week grading period, so that's a bit different too. Like having an extra week, because we then nearly play every opponent, which probably makes it more fair in our group. But saying that, even with the strength of the women, we had a practice match against Ringwood City, their reserves, because Galaxy were playing their seniors.
Yep.
And I didn't even have a full team. Like we probably had 5 of our starting 11 missing that day, and we lost 5-0. But as a game in a whole, we weren't far off the mark.
Yeah.
And so I think the Geelong league's a really strong league in Division 1. But there's, as I said, 6 teams probably that are stronger than the last couple. But it's getting closer. It's not getting worse. But we need to try to make sure that we get this whole grading and the whole system right, so we don't lose teams, because 18's probably, you want to have a minimum of eight in the league, otherwise there's no point. So you want to sort of have 18 to 20 teams. Two groups of 10 would be ideal.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and that would be the ideal. And then getting back to your group, for example, where you were saying you had Deakin Ducks, Blacks, Surf Coast Twos, Geelong, which is probably a second division team, and Ocean Grove as well. There are 3 teams there with yourselves that Ocean Grove, Deakin Ducks, and Lara United could be and should be in Div 1. Have you been told, with the division being 5 teams as opposed to 4, does that mean you'll have an extra spot there? Or
they haven't told us anything. We don't get told a lot, actually.
Yeah. And I think that's probably part of the problem as well. Like, we don't know kind of heading into the season. We don't know. And I know in some of the Melbourne competitions, the issue of relegation and promotion wasn't really clear until 4 or 5 weeks before the end of the season.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of issues at the moment structurally. And it just seems to me that every year we're changing something. So obviously that tells me things aren't right 100%. Because if they were left alone, that means the system is perfect. But
once we know, if we know what's going on, we just keep moving from that and we work off it. Like a club can always put in if you lose the team, for example, you could lose a whole heap of players to state league. Like, for example, if we're planning on going to state league next year, chances are our second team is probably going to be a Division 2 team, our local team, because we're starting from scratch. But there's got to be a room, I guess, for a communication where we can sort of bring that forward.
Yeah.
But in the past, I'm sure in men's and women's, there's been teams that probably should go up a division that are choosing not to and finding excuses not to go up.
And I guess that was the whole purpose of the grading, wasn't it? But then there's always the counter argument. Some teams might tank it.
Oh, look, you know what? You could very easily. It's not. You can very easily hold back players too.
Yeah.
And we could, like on the weekend, we didn't hold back. We held a little bit back, but that was more of a precautionary because it's a long season. As I said, take nothing against Geelong. Geelong weren't too bad. They were pretty good. But probably we're a lot more. We've got a few more experienced girls, and that showed. But they will be a really good Division 2 team. But probably against the top end of Div 1, they're going to struggle. And I think they've got Deakin this week, which might be a tough day for them because Deakin are a really good squad, a really good team, a really good club. So it's going to be an interesting sort of take on it. I really don't know what to do, what we can do to make it work.
Well, we can certainly start the conversation happening, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
Steve,
exactly.
Once again, thank you so much for your support of the Geelong Region Soccer Show through the Birregurra General Store, and good luck to you and everyone at Lara United for the season ahead. I'm sure we'll hear from you before season's end.
No worries. Thanks, Tochi.
Good on you. Steve DeCunto, head coach of Lara United Women's Football Club women's team. We'll be back after this very, very short break with the rest of tonight's show. And that's one of our new business advertising sponsors, Ozcom Technology Group. Apologies, there was a voiceover, but that wasn't included on today. But nonetheless, for all your IT needs, give Rob Jovanovski a buzz there at Ozcom Technology Group. and we'll have the proper advert on our social media channels as of tonight after the show. Thank you very much, folks, for being a part of tonight's show. Really, really appreciate it. There was a question in the chat. Simon PPK says, I wonder if you could answer the question if you think Bell Park changing their Sunday League fixture to Friday night 4 days before the game. Simon, I'm not too sure who that question would have been directed to. If you're thinking Alan Muscat, Alan is the coach of the State League 4 men's team. I don't think he would know too much about that. Probably your best bet would be to contact maybe someone through your club. I assume you play, and to contact Bell Park's Sunday League club. Generally, these teams in the Sunday League operate independently from clubs, or something to ask the Football Victoria competitions department, whoever they are. Folks, that brings us, as I said, to the end of this week's show. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight's show. It was a huge show, 5 guests, and as you can expect, we went certainly a little bit over 60 minutes tonight. Thank you very much to our major sponsor, the Gordon, and to all of our business advertising sponsors tonight, and especially our main business advertising sponsors, Just Turfing, Instant Turf, and Curva Coaching as well. Thank you for joining us once again. Good night, and see you again next Monday night for episode 7 of our 7th season, or episode 157 of the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Good night.